Hi, beautiful people. I'm here today to share with you something really exciting, which you won't hear from most doctors. The origins of the chronic pain is not structural. Most of the time, obviously, you need to get a diagnosis. You need to have a checkup, obviously, right? We're talking about chronic pain and how we can overcome it. That has been, has not been able to be diagnosed. There's nothing wrong with you in the sense that you've gone through the procedures and you've gone out the other side desperate, right? So, I'm talking about these people, and I want to share with you a very interesting study to kind of give you how some evidence basically on that it's not a structural problem that you've got. In most cases, like I said, the majority of the cases. So, excuse me. Sorry about yesterday. My daughter was sick and I wasn't able to do a video, so I'm going to do two today. So one that I'm going to be informing you, and the second one I'm going to give you some tips and tricks and some help to overcome the chronic pain. So in this video, I'm going to talk about, basically the why we always associate injury and damage with pains. Pain doesn't always mean injury and damage, basically, which is what is it psychosomatic? Do you have psychosomatic illness, or do you have a disorder, or do you have mind-body syndrome disorder, or do you have structural, right? So this is the kind of dilemma that most chronic people have in their brain. Chronic pain, I mean, people who have chronic pain. So as Dr. John Sarno and his colleagues and many other now doctors realize that it's not as simple as they thought, that structural problems equals pain. And that's how we've kind of, excuse me, that's how we've kind of been framed in our brains and how we've actually been conditioned. And this is no fault of the medical doctors. It's the system that is not upgraded. It's not allowing us to, consider alternatives. And so everyone at some point has chronic pain. It's the cost of chronic pain. The management is in its billions. So, that's why another reason why they don't really want to find a real solution for this, because it's incredibly lucrative. The worst, the pain treatments are usually, highly addictive drugs, and, very difficult to get off, and, they can cause more good than harm than good, basically. So Dr. Sarno's kind of said this in a very good way in his book. I'm just going to read you the quote, that the pervasive concept of the vulnerability of the back, and he means back also, our body in general, of ease of injury is nothing less than a medical catastrophe for the public, which now has an army of semi-disabled men and women whose lives are significantly restricted by the fear of doing further damage to their body, to their back or their leg or their knee or their arm or their shoulder or the neck. Add in whatever it is you want, and bringing and worried of bringing on the dreaded pain again. So now we're like basically at this, period of our lives where we're like, I'm afraid of hurting myself again, so I'm going to be careful. And this kind of mentality and this kind of, unfortunately, conditioning, just as when we condition things in very easily, is one of the problems, right, with chronic pain. So I'm just addressing this today. It's not necessarily structural, and this medicine's preoccupation with the spine and its fundamental, structural problems is, you know, the way that we've been kind of brought up as well, right? So modern medicine primarily is kind of looking at the concepts of mechanical and structural. Its orientation is that. So that's why, right? We see the body as a kind of machine, you know, exceedingly complex machine, but we see it as a machine with parts. And I touched on this yesterday. So we need to understand that it's not necessarily structural, right? Dr. John Sarno was head of the Rehabilitation Center in the medical school in New York, and his many studies and many research and lots of research on this, and he came up with the idea that that back pain is emotional, right? So, you know, let's take it with a grain of salt. The MRIs that we've had, and I am included in that. I did an MRI, and in fact, excuse me, after the MRI, you know, which showed many different problems, I got worse. My symptoms got worse, and this is also why I'm kind of coming out and saying this, because it's really, really important that we understand that it's not necessarily structural, right? What I mean by that, like, I'm going to show you now some a very simple picture from a publication. I'm going to put the publication below so you can go and have a look at it. Let me just share you my screen. And this publication is basically showing the evidence of in symptomatic patients, sorry, they're finding the prevalence or the numbers, this is the percentages, or in an age specific manner of degenerative spine problems with imaging, right? So people who are asymptomatic, they volunteer to have an MRI, and there you can see all the you know, findings, let's say the disc degeneration, the disc bulging, protrusions, various other problems in the spine, okay? And you can see these are the problems, and these are the age with age. These are all asymptomatic. They don't have any symptoms of pain at all. So let's see disc degeneration, right? 37% of 20-year-olds have that. This we're talking. I think it was 2,200. The number of people in this study, right? So it wasn't a small number of people. 50% are at 30 at the age of 30, 48% at the age of 40, 50 at the age of 50. You have 80% disc degeneration, and it goes up with age, right? Loss of disc signal or height, right? So this is most of us have been diagnosed with this, with back pain, that it goes up with age, as you see, right? So from 20 to 80 years. So 45% of 40-year-olds have this. Disc bulges. How many disc bulges? I was diagnosed with 3 or 4 disc bulges. Protrusions, I think it was a slip disc, I think in my I can't remember now which one it was. Anyway, I'll tell you, I can find out and I can let you know, but it doesn't really matter, because the point is that so bulges, 50% of 40-year-olds have disc bulges, and yet they're not always in pain, right? So they have episodes of pain. So what I'm trying to say with this is that just because we have a diagnosis that the doctor has, so sees these MRIs, and it gives you then a you know, oh, since you have this disc bulge, therefore you have this pain, right? So they're coupled, and it's not necessarily the case. So just bear that in mind, please. The studies, these are all studies of, again, showing the same thing, so asymptomatic patients, and these are the number of studies that have shown these. So, you know, it's a lot of studies, right? It's not just 1 or 2, right? So please, if you know, go ahead and check them out. So the conclusion that they make from this, you know, this review of all the studies is that there is, you can have pain with structural problems, or you can have pain, you can not have pain with structural problems, right? So this is really, really important to understand. Okay, so saying that, and I'm going to put the video below, the link below, so you can have a look at that. So why is it that, you know, who can get TMS? Basically, anybody's susceptible to TMS, or this mind-body syndrome, right? But it does show, it has been shown, and John Sarno's work, as well as many others now, have shown that it increases with age. So the likelihood of you having this syndrome. So, and that's why it's the years of the responsibleness. So you take years of responsibility are the periods between 20 and 60, right? And those are the ages that are the most prominent for a TMS or mind-body syndrome, which means that we're all in this category, right? And why is that? Because we have those are the ages where we have more responsibility. And in Freud's work, you know, with the model of the Ida and the kid, you know, the kid in all of us, it doesn't like responsibility. So stress, or internal stress, as I was talking about yesterday, are, you know, exaggerated, or, you know, increased as in that period of time, right? And we have an epidemic going on of this mind-body syndrome, which is conditioned into us, learned. It's neuroplastic, so we are literally conditioning ourselves into this pain, chronic pain, or perceived danger, pain every single day. So this really needs to be highlighted. It needs to be brought, you know, awareness needs to be brought up about it. And so from now on, when you have a back pain or a migraine or a head or some other kind of chronic pain that's continuous, and you've been checked out by the doctor and perhaps even got an MRI scan, just know that it doesn't structural the injury or the pain and doesn't necessarily coincide with injury or damage. That's the point. Think emotional. Okay, so think that your problem or your symptom is emotional, is originated from the internal environment, and as a sign, as a signpost, as a sign, as a big red light to say this way of living, the way that you're living, the physical, mental, and emotional habits that you are having in your day, this right now, are not aligned with your highest and self and your body. So, you know, I think it's really, really important. When you have pain, don't think injury, damage, think emotional. Okay, that's the message for today. And then the next video, I'll give you some tips and tricks and hacks to help you with that. Take care. Have a beautiful day.